Happy Waiver Wire Tuesday, Whisper Nation. Jumping on here. Sorry about the slight delay, but we're here. We're going to give you guys the key pieces off the waiver wire that you're going to want to go and get this week. Pick them up, place a WOB budget waiver wire pickup for them, or are any of these players worth your number one waiver wire priority? If you're still in that, we're going to let you know that and more all on this episode of the Fantasy Whispers.
Right here.
That's right. We're doing the waiver wire, as Johnny said. But if you like fresh fantasy football content, hit that like, hit that subscribe, help join the nation. We're talking waiver wires. You know, it's Tuesday. We had to get going on this. Johnny, big waiver wire week. Couple key injuries happening to my boy, David Montgomery, the bromance for this year going down.
You had to jinx him, dude. Had to jinx him. It's okay. Good. It's at least, hey, we can count our blessings because at least it's not the season. I will take this. I will take 4 to 5 weeks all day, every season over a season-ending injury all day, any year.
Yeah.
Give it to me. We got very lucky. We got very lucky. This is the Nick Chubb injury from last year. And here's what's nice about it. We gotta like paint some positivity here on this waiver wire Tuesday.
To be fair, Johnny's trying to paint this positivity because he's dealing with the injury himself.
I mean, I am dealing with the injury myself, but I'll tell Whisper Nation what my thought process is right now and what I'm running through. Because do I have Damien right now? No. Is Damien available on the waiver? He is, but we've already got league mates talking about completely upbidding him, and I'm like, I'm not about that life. Okay. We'll talk about Damian Williams here in just a second, how much you should bid on him and all that excitement. I'll toss it over to Big Travie. But one thing I just want to note. So Chicago Bears have a bye in week 10. So that's why we're expecting him back in week 11. It's a 4 to 5 week injury. Doubt that they bring him back just for one game before the bye week. But you never know. We'll see how this heals up. But expected as of right now that he'll be back by after their week, right? So not terrible though, because so you got the Raiders next week. Okay, then you got the Packers. That was actually a pretty solid matchup. Then you got the Buccaneers, then the 49ers, then the Steelers, and then their bye. So, and then he'll come back for the Ravens. Then he gets the Lions, and this stretch is beautiful. Like Ravens, Lions, Arizona Cardinals, Packers, Vikings, Seahawks to close out, and then the Giants to close out the season. So he is not missing the most important part. He's probably missing the hardest stretch of his season, which would have been the next couple of weeks. So it's not necessarily detrimental to not have David Montgomery in through those weeks. But Travis, do you want to weigh in on this real quick, and then we'll dive into the meat and potatoes of the show. I just want to kind of start off with some positivity.
It's always relative to your roster and how long you want to hold. It's relative if you have IR spots. They're obviously going to put him on the IR because it's a 3-week IR, and they're going to be able to do so. So that'll make him eligible for your IR in fantasy. If you've got the IR spot, I think he's a great hold. He's one of the guys to hold. If you don't, and you're sitting there with a bad record and you want to try and offload him, you can use what Johnny's saying right here, what Johnny's laid out in this schedule to unload David Montgomery. Say, look, he's going to miss some of his toughest matchups. You're a contender right now. You're 3-1. You're 4-0. I am looking to give you this for your playoff stretch and your stretch down the field, down the just give me some return for RB2, RB3 value I can use right now in these next 4 to 5 weeks. Now, if you have a waiver priority, Damian Williams will need to be picked up immediately. If you have, 30 to 40% of your WOB available, Damian Williams needs to be picked up immediately. This is just a man who's been a journeyman, a man who's come in when other backs ahead of him have been injured, who's been an RB1 in that span when he played for Kansas City, did big things for them, is a pass-catching back. That's his specialty. There's just so much here working towards Damian Williams. And then instead, last week, ripped off like 6.8 yards per carry.
Yeah.
So, like, the guy looked good in a good matchup. So that's what we want. Yes, there is the Tampa Bay matchup sitting there, but other than that, Johnny, even the Vegas matchup, which, on paper was good till they played Austin Eckler.
Yeah.
San Francisco, not really as scared of them as I have been in years past. Pittsburgh, same thing. Just these defenses aren't what they used to be. So I'm not sitting here looking like I'm so scared of any of these matchups.
Any concern with the potential quad injury to Damien? He did
so they said it was a thigh bruise. That's what I've read so far. So it's a thigh bruise. They said he should be ready to go. All reports have said he's been ready to go. The big thing about Damian Williams, man, people were gushing in Chicago over Damian Williams, right, wrong, or indifferent. They loved that they didn't have to put basically Cordarrelle Patterson in as their backup. Like they were
how dare you disrespect his name like that?
Having to do that last year because he's not a true running back, and Damien Williams is a guy that was a true running back and can be for them.
I just want to mention really quick to everyone joining the show and watching live right now, we appreciate all of you for joining us. We will get to your questions at the end of the show, so stick around, keep asking them. We'll work our way through them, but we do want to get to the meat and potatoes of the show first. We'll get through all of our waiver wire guys, and then we'll jump into these ad drop questions for Whisper Nation specifically. So hang around. Keep dropping those questions in the comments. Let us know what you need, and we'll get to those questions at the end of the show. As always, if you're new to our channel, please hit that subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified anytime we drop new content, which is daily during the season, and we go live constantly to help you out, Whisper Nation, get those W's. So without further ado, let's jump right into this. Now, I do want to remind our listeners that we are going to, I'll just mention these guys briefly because the guys that we're going to talk about on this show are guys that are rostered in less than 50% of sleeper leagues. So we will just touch on the guys that are over 50% rostered on sleeper leagues. And if they are available in your league, these guys automatically become the number one waiver wire priority for you before any of the guys that we're going to talk about here. And that is Mike Gesicki, Laviska Shenault. Oh, my boy LaVisca, or your boy LaVisca too, getting that spot with Chark out. Man, I lost Chark and Monty this week. What a bummer. Emmanuel Sanders, 67%. Michael Carter, 65%. The fantasy glitch, Cordarrelle Patterson, 73%. He would be my number one. Zach Moss, 79%. Another good one. Jared Cook, 59%. Darnell Mooney finally having a breakout game at 56%. Devontae Parker at 52%. And Dawson Knox at 50% exactly, not being able to make this cutoff for the tight end position. But we did talk about Dawson Knox last week during the waiver wire show. So make sure if those guys are on your waiver wire, those are your priorities. We talked about Damien Williams. That was number one on our list for this week. We're going to talk about number two here, Travis. Kenneth Gainwell, Philadelphia Eagles. He's rostered on 44% of sleeper leagues. He did get in for the touchdown this week. He had another solid week of production. What's going on with Miles Sanders? Asking for a friend. What is going on? Are we getting worried over there? Are we hitting the panic button? All things and signs should point to Miles Sanders having a better day than what he had, or better season so far than what he's had. Is he a buy low candidate right now? Are you buying heavily into Gainwell, or what are your thoughts on this, Big Travi?
Yeah, so I actually don't think I wouldn't mind going to scoop up Miles Sanders as a buy low. Obviously, you got Carolina this week, then Tampa Bay. But then if you look at 7, 8, and 9, those weeks, 7, 8, 9, Las Vegas, Detroit, and the Los Angeles Chargers. So three very juicy matchups that are sitting on the horizon there. The reason Gainwell makes it on here, though, Johnny, is he has 4 or more targets in the last 2 games. He's got 9 catches over the last 2 weeks, over 90 yards receiving over the last 2 weeks. They're using him in the passing game regardless. He's going to have some PPR standalone value right now. And I just think that's somebody you should pick up that can be involved no matter what the game script is. And then if we see something happen to Miles Sanders, Gainwell is going to be a guy that they use as more of a bell cow. Remember, this is not the same, coaching regime that drafted Miles Sanders. They drafted Kenneth Gainwell. This is their guy. They kind of use him in the 2-minute drill, and they're coming from behind in a lot of these games. The offense just isn't as good as we thought it was going to be, or the team isn't as good as we thought it was going to be. And this is a team that is going to need to lean on its weapons, and Gainwell has become one of those in the passing game.
Definitely think better days are ahead for Miles Sanders. But again, to your point, Travis, one, Kenneth Gainwell is kind of the guy that they chose, right? But also look at, you talked about the coaching staff, which I think is important. The coaching staff comes from Indianapolis. And what do we see in Indianapolis? We see them use 2 running backs mostly, right? You got the passing down guy in Nyheim Hines, a.k.a. where I think Gainwell is going, right, in that position. And then you have Jonathan Taylor, which I think is the Miles Sanders role. And so I think that's why I'm buying in on Miles Sanders as a potential guy who could turn it around and really start to get it together. But again, there is some caution because it's not quite the as good offensive line or offensive system kind of thing. But I think it's kind of like a poor man system there. So do like the Kenneth Gainwell pickup. Especially if you need a running back stash there, because I do think if anything were to happen to Miles Sanders, Gainwell would take over a lot more. You would get Boston Scott involved, but
yeah, and it's like this. Damian Williams, the guy you can plug and play right now. Damian Williams is the only guy on the running backs we're going to talk about that you're feeling confident putting into your lineup right away. And then if you look at the other guys, and you guys will see the article when it comes out later today. Apologize for the delay on that. Kenneth Gainwell, Samaje Perine, Darrell Williams, Alex Collins. They're all working in tandem. They're all, change of pace backs. They're not guys I'm going to run to the waivers to go get, but I've listed them in that priority because, one, Gainwell has the role now, and two, like the pass catching in PPR is going to be enough to float you some weeks if you have pops from your other positions. We've seen sometimes that the RB2, RB3, you just need somewhere in between 5 and 10 points sometimes. And if you can float that in a week where you're trying to just get a win, that could be, pretty beneficial to you. So that's where I come from with Gainwell. Just quickly, we don't have to spend a lot of time on the other guys. Samaje Perine's just a preliminary or a, get ahead of the curve pickup here because Joe Mixon dealing with some sort of ankle deal. They said day to day, not week to week, which is what you like to hear.
Yeah.
I think he'll probably be fine and give it a go, but something to monitor and a sneaky play to pick up Perine in case Mixon aggravates that injury either in practice or in the game.
Yeah, I'm thinking Chris Evans was going to be that backup. He looked good in the preseason, but yeah, so far it's been.
I don't think that they like him between the tackles. Cincinnati's at a real weird juncture right now. I believe at the beginning of the year, they were trying to ease Joe Burrow into, playing a little bit more and opening it up because of his knee, and they wanted to keep him, upright and protected. They started running a lot more, right? They ran just basically Joe Mixon was their bell cow. They ran the whole offense through him. We're seeing that maybe dinged up Joe Mixon. He's got the ankle thing. And then we saw them play Jacksonville where they really did open it up. Joe Burrow finally got going. So we'll see how this offense changes now. If Burrow's fully comfortable, if the Bengals are comfortable rolling him out there, that actually could mean that Chris Evans is a guy that you want to pick up over Perine, because I do believe Chris Evans will have a role in the pass catching if Joe Mixon goes down. I think it'll be a split. And it's just one of those things that we roll with. But he had to be mentioned here just because of, the ankle issue. And then Darrell Williams, Johnny, and Alex Collins, pretty much similar situation. Both CEH and Chris Carson aren't going anywhere. We don't believe that they're going to cede any work to these guys. But in certain situations where they come in, they have been effective with the touches they get. Darrell Williams obviously scored the touchdown. Should anything happen to your boy CEH, Johnny, I believe Darrell Williams would be the first in line. I know we've talked about McKinnon. We've talked about McKinnon before, but I believe it actually is Darrell Williams. They just trust him more. The offense, Andy Reid does trust Darrell Williams. He's been around for a while for that team. And then Alex Collins is another guy that, Pete Carroll loves. Yeah. Pete Carroll loves Alex Collins, man.
Yeah.
And he has rattled off some big runs in very limited snaps. I just think he's worth an ad right now if you're the Chris Carson owner, especially.
Appreciate that insight there, Travis. Once again, want to thank all of you who are tuning in right now.
Yeah, just give a
leaving
quick
comments
shout out here.
Yeah,
Jersey Day, Mr. Miyagi. Want to say what's up? Tom Ashton, Vopzy, Zira. We've got you guys. We're gonna answer these questions for sure. Bruising coming in here. We're gonna answer these. We just want to get through some of the waiver wire nuggets here that we have, and then we'll get to the questions at the end.
So stick around, hit that subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified anytime that we drop new content. Going for 3K subscribers. Let's go.
Let's
go. Help us get us there. Help get us there. All right. Jumping over to the wide receivers here, Travis. Jumping over to the wide receivers, I'll list off a bunch of drop candidates after we get through this to give you. Okay, wide receivers. We got AJ Green, back-to-back games now with a touchdown, has scored a touchdown in 2 out of 3 games so far this season. And he didn't get. Yeah, he did. He got a touchdown last week.
Yeah.
So touchdown in 2 out of 3 games. He's filling in that Christian Kirk role. We saw that Christian Kirk role last year have some significant value there. Hearing Cliff Kingsbury after the game talk about AJ Green and what he brings to this offense and just how he's able to stretch the field, and he's so big that Kyler can just toss it up. That was the problem with Christian Kirk last year, is they were running those same routes, but Christian Kirk's much smaller. So when Kyler would do the toss-ups, it wasn't so 50-50. It was a lot less significant than that. And so AJ Green really coming on strong. We heard that he had a solid preseason, had that connection with Kyler Murray. Does this continue? Do you have more and more confidence in putting AJ Green as a wide receiver 3? Is he that second most confident player that you're starting for Arizona? Or do you still think it's going to be kind of a carousel on like the second kind of person who goes off in this behind DeAndre Hopkins?
So, Johnny, we had talked about week 4 being this barometer, right? It was like the time that we'd know because we had a month worth of data. So when we look at AJ Green, he's the perfect study case because he's had 6 targets in every single game. In the first 2 weeks, Johnny, he only caught 50% of his targets, right? 5 catches on, less than 50%, 5 catches on 12 targets through 2 weeks, right? He did get a touchdown in there, kind of buoyed his weeks. But then we look at what's happened. He's warmed up. The chemistry's really solidified. He's caught 83 or more % of his passes over the last 2 weeks. 5 out of 6 targets last week. 5 out of 6 targets this week. A touchdown this week after 67 yards. 112 yards last week. This is an offense that you want pieces of, and you especially, I don't know how you could say you wouldn't want AJ Green over every other wide receiver not named DeAndre Hopkins. And really right now, he's getting more consistent looks than Hopkins in the offense. Now, I don't think that will always continue, but here's the key, Johnny. Over 79% of the snaps in all 4 games, never seen a game below 6 targets, and only since week 1, he's had 13 or more PPR fantasy points in 3 straight games. He's here to stay. As long as he's healthy, he's going to run upwards of 80% of the snaps for this team, which is something you want on a team that's scoring about 31 points per game. And he is a guy that we know is a big body, is a red zone threat. If you can tell me that AJ Green's going to get 6 targets and catch 80% of them in this, going forward, there's not going to be any surprise when he's a wide receiver 2 in standard and a wide receiver 3 in PPR, which is exactly where he is right now.
I just gotta say, that we talked about this. You and I both talked about AJ Green, and we talked about versus Julio. And we got so much flack, and people said we were stupid. We didn't know what we were talking about. Why would we ever do this? Look at this. AJ Green, wide receiver 21 in standard, wide receiver 31 in PPR. Where's Julio? And I understand Julio missed this last week, so he doesn't have the same amount of, but Julio has not caught 3 touchdowns. He almost caught 1. So, very good point there. AJ Green doing his thing.
This just extends even to his team. And you asked, is he the one that I want? And yes. And the bottom line is because Rondale Moore is not running enough of the snaps for me. I love him. I think he's a great talent. He's not running enough of the snaps. Same with Christian Kirk, who's eating into each other's snaps there. Yes, AJ Green is the secondary piece I want. But we'll also talk about my boy Max Williams.
Max. Yeah, I do like Max. I do want to note Rondale, 42%, second highest snap share last week against the Rams. So continue monitoring Rondale's, because I do believe as the season goes on, they will continue to give him more snaps and give him more reps. And I do think he becomes like that third option over Christian Kirk. And so that is definitely something to monitor. But again, like you said, I do think AJ Green is probably the second one as of right now that you want for that receiving core for Arizona. Next on our list, coming in at roster only 44%. Is it time? Are you going to rush out, Travis, and get your boy Hunter Renfro, who just continues to be this steady Eddie in this offense, and he just puts up fantasy points, whether we like it or not, whether we want to root for him or not. He just puts out work.
Wait till you guys read the article, because the only reason he's number 2 on this list is that absolute wood that he laid on that fake punt.
How big was that? That was the play of the game. Yes.
First of all, the instincts he had to go do that. Second of all, the way he what a tactician in that hit, and then just dislodged the ball.
Perfect hit.
Yeah, I love it.
They're gonna show that on one of those NFL films on this is the proper tackle.
Yeah, real talk. Hunter Renfro does not get any points for that tackle, but he is getting points for averaging 8 targets a game, averaging around 60 yards a game, and over the last 2 weeks, back-to-back games with touchdowns. He has not seen less than double-digit PPR fantasy points. But it doesn't just stop at PPR, Johnny. Yes, he's the wide receiver 23 in PPR. He's the wide receiver 24 in standard, and that is behind the fact that he gets targeted. They look for him. You look at that big, crucial third down they had, or fourth down, was it? It was third. It was third before they missed the field goal last night. And they looked to Renfro, but he was doubled. If a defense is doubling Hunter Renfro, then the defense knows how important Hunter Renfro is to the Raiders, and that should give you some talks here. Look, I tried for 2 weeks to put Hunter Renfro on the honorable mention section. Last week, I had to get him up there in the real deal. I said, look, you got to go grab him because it's not going away. We're now 4 weeks in. It's not going away. We have to go ahead and get that and get Hunter Renfro in our lineups here, or at least on our teams. And he's rostered just too low right now, 44%. So get him.
Appreciate Jersey J saying he jumped in. He was on the live stream last night. Appreciate you. We had a good time. We were watching the game, talking through it. That hit was phenomenal, though. That was one of the best plays of that whole game. All right, moving on here to the rest of these wide receivers. We'll break them down real quick. Van Jefferson, Los Angeles Rams, roster only 13% of sleeper leagues. Khalif Raymond, Detroit Lions wide receiver, seems to be a different wide receiver each week for the Detroit Lions.
I will say, for Raymond, he's now ran 75% snaps or more in 3 of the 4 Lion games, 8 or more fantasy points in those same 3 games, 10 targets last week, 6 targets this week, 2 touchdowns this week. Something is brewing there with Khalif Raymond. We thought it might have been Cephas, but Raymond's somebody to keep on your mind. Look, we know they're going to have to throw. They're going to be doing it all year. Mm-hmm. So maybe somebody could establish themselves. I think Khalif Raymond's a deeper PPR league ad right now, and he's definitely worth it.
Let me just ask you, I know this isn't that type of show, but I'm going to bring it up. I got to. Hawkinson, are you worried about Hawkinson now? Back-to-back games, struggling. Are you trying to target him right now? Do you see the wide receiver stepping up a little bit more than we thought, and actually this offense not running through TJ Hawkinson?
This will be interesting to monitor because they did play. If you look at back-to-back weeks, they played Baltimore and Chicago. And I know Chicago's defense hasn't been what we thought it was going to be, but still very talented, especially in the linebacker area. And so what I'm seeing is that Baltimore and Chicago have been able to neutralize Hawkinson, which then allows for other players to get involved, Khalif Raymond specifically over the last 2 weeks. So, yeah, I think when he's not going to be matchup proof, but the problem with tight end is none of these guys are matchup proof, really, except for Travis Kelce, maybe even Darren Waller. You could talk about a little bit.
Even Travis Kelce, man, the last 2 weeks, disappointing.
Right. So again, we're just seeing what's the alternative, Johnny? You're going to get out and drop Hawkinson or play somebody over Hawkinson on the waiver. I don't think you could do it. Now, you could try to trade out of Hawkinson. Maybe you picked up a waiver guy like Dawson Knox and you want to ride that the rest of the year and you want to get out of Hawkinson for an RB or a top tier wide receiver. I can see it. Okay, because you're going to see the volatility here. What we were really hoping after 2 weeks was Hawkinson was going to be volatility proof because they were just going to have to run the offense through him. What we're seeing after 4 weeks is I don't think that's going to be the case, but I do think he's going to have major spiked weeks. The usage is all there. He's running routes on a lot of the high percentage that we like to see out of our elite tight ends. So, yeah, still a great option at tight end, but I would understand. Just be smart. Don't be ditching Hawkinson just because he gave you 2 down weeks.
I'm going to look into our event and I'll tweet it out. So if you're not following Travis or I at Johnny _game time or at Big Travis TFW on Twitter. I'm going to look into the consistency charts for now I'm blanking on his name, for Kittle a couple of years ago, because that's kind of where we were projecting, the Kittle's breakout year with Hawkinson, to see how many games he didn't finish with 10 that year. And then I'll tweet that out, just because I want to know if Kittle had, because I do want to say that Kittle did have some bad weeks that year and still was able to finish.
I think people forget that when you're not one or two really in tight end, you're going to have spiked weeks and low weeks. And that's just what the position is. And I think that's where we're at with Hawkinson, is we're just not seeing the impervious scoring that we wanted when we first, got him.
Yeah. All right. Last two wide receivers on this list, we'll just quickly shout out real quick, and then we'll get to these tight ends, these exciting tight ends here. We got Randall Cobb getting on the board. We talked about Randall Cobb last week on the matchup breakdown, and saying that we didn't think Cobb to be heavily involved in this matchup, and then what old he was. He had a monster game, so he became the wide receiver 2 for them for yesterday. Are you projecting him to be consistent, or is this just a deeper kind of stash?
He's definitely the bottom of the wide receiver barrel here when I look at these guys that are available, because I think the volatility, you'll never know which week it'll probably happen. But it is worth noting that when James Jones came on late for the Packers and reunited with Aaron Rodgers, there was some love there. There were some touchdowns there. There could be some red zone usage there. I think I don't think I'm going to go and run to pick up Randall Cobb, but I think it's worth noting that if you're in a deeper league, should MVS's injury linger on, should some other injuries happen, remember Aaron Jones a little dinged up in this game, could have been another reason why, what's going on. So I would, as a Packer fan, I'm hesitant to go out and be like, oh yeah, Cobb is going to be the resurgent person that he was before. I still think he's a tertiary piece, but he's definitely a guy worth noting here in the waiver wire.
All right. We now that we have this here, I'll ask you some questions, Travis, on some players that you would add and drop for any of these wide receivers or running backs. Okay. And then we'll jump into the tight ends and quarterbacks. Okay. Let's go. Tyson Williams. Are you dropping Tyson Williams for any of these guys?
Oh, yes. Pretty much. Damian Williams, I would drop Tyson Williams for Damian Williams, and I'd drop him for, let me look at these wide receivers again, AJ Green, Hunter Renfro, and Van Jefferson and Khalif Raymond, I think.
Okay.
Tyson Williams, a healthy scratch is not a good sign.
No,
it's not a good sign. I think it's time to cut bait on Tyson Williams, and realistically, of those guys in the running back, like just thinking about it now, if you want to take a better shot on that than Tyson Williams, since you can't really start Tyson right now, I don't mind you going to pick up a bench project in some of these other guys too.
Yeah, we have a question here. Someone dropped Latavius last week. Who should I pick from waiver wire? I'll drop Chuba, pick Latavius, Damien, Gainwell, or Connor PPR format. I think I would keep Chuba over those guys.
I would keep Chuba. I wouldn't keep him over Damian Williams, I think, but I would try to drop somebody else to keep Chuba and Damian Williams. Like, go get Damian Williams right now.
Yeah, I would try to.
Because actually, Chuba, I could understand dropping Chuba for Damian Williams, Johnny, and I only say that because I think we're going to see CMC back before Dave Montgomery.
Monty.
And so, I think you're going to get more usage out of Damian Williams than you are Chuba Hubbard. And the other thing is they started using that guy Smith, the running back Smith, in the passing game over Chuba in that Dallas game. So Damian Williams is kind of a guy that's locked in, I think, more than Chuba Hubbard for usage right now.
I would try to trade Chuba before just letting him off the waiver.
See if you can even get Wob out of the CMC owner for Chuba.
Yeah, 100% like that. Okay, a couple more names here before we on who you would drop. Would you drop Will Fuller for any of these guys?
Oh, yeah. Will Fuller can go bye-bye.
Yeah, he could be dropped him.
Broke a finger, and I think you need your hands to catch in the NFL. pretty sure.
Yeah,
Not
and
to
he's
have
not been doing well so far. So
and Brissett, you know, you got that situation. It's just not. Brissett's not a guy that's going to unload and get you the Will Fuller points you want. You know.
exactly. Sony Michel, are you dropping Sony for any of these guys?
Wow, Sony Michel just relegated right back to the bench.
Dude,
here.
that was a shocker. That was
if you were the Darrell Henderson owner, or I wouldn't drop Sony just yet. And who are we asking over? Over who?
Any of these guys over Sony.
So I think, let me see, if I was writing the waiver wire and I could put Sony in here, I would put Sony in. Sony would be number 2. So I think Damian Williams, I would go drop Sony for, but that's about it. I think he's a good project to keep because Henderson's not the model of health. Okay. And we've seen that when Henderson was out, unfortunately for Michel, he had a bad matchup against Tampa Bay because his 20 carries would have equated to a lot more against other teams.
Mm-hmm.
So Sony's still worth the keep. Like, let's keep on to Sony because Henderson could go down and then you'd have something there. But I understand having to go get production now, which is what Damian Williams would be. So I wouldn't mind dropping him for Damian Williams. On the wide receiver side, AJ Green, you could drop Sony for AJ Green. You need wide receiver help. You could drop him for Hunter Renfro as well, especially in PPR.
Last wide receiver here. Are you dropping Tim Patrick?
Timmy P.
92% snap share.
Getting a lot of questions about Patrick because and guys,
3 for 6 for 39
Teddy
yards.
Bridgewater got concussed in this game.
Yeah, that's
so
the
that's a big reason why you're seeing a dip in Patrick's production is that we had our guy Drew Lock, Johnny's boy Drew Lock, came in and was just slinging it all over the place. None of which was to the actual receivers.
Right.
Yeah, I would hold on to Patrick. I would drop Patrick for AJ Green, but I think I would keep him over Renfro unless I was in PPR. PPR would be the cutoff. I would drop Patrick for Renfro in PPR, but that's about it. I think Patrick belongs right there.
Okay. I like that. Okay. Getting over to the tight ends here. Got some exciting tight ends for you this week. 3 of them. Usually we only do 2, but we're giving you an extra one this week. We got Dalton Schultz, Dallas Cowboys, my boy Dalton Schultz, who roster on 6% of sleeper leagues, really coming alive over the last couple of weeks. Max Williams, my boy from with 2 X's from Arizona Cardinals, roster only 4% of sleeper leagues. Then Tyler Conklin, Minnesota Vikings tight end, roster on 24% of leagues, have really gained a lot of targets over the last couple of weeks. So Travis, of these 3, break down what you like about these guys and why you have them in the order that you do.
Yeah, well, Dalton Schultz, it's pretty simple. Upwards of 70% of the snap share in every game this year. Over the last 2 weeks, though, Johnny, 15 targets at the tight end position is gold. 12 catches on those targets, over 138 yards total in the last 2 weeks. And Johnny, 3 touchdowns in the last 2 weeks. Even in a game where Blake Jarwin got into the end zone, Dalton Schultz still was productive, still posted numbers, and he is now the tight end 4 in PPR, the tight end 5 in standard, and he's on a team where, look, Michael Gallup goes down, they don't care. They're going to roll their tight ends out there. In fact, it looks like in the pecking order that it goes the tight ends, then Amari Cooper, then CeeDee Lamb, and that's not great news for CeeDee Lamb truthers right now that they are using so much of the tight end, and it's not good news for us that love this offense as a high-flying offense because they're doing what they need to do to win. And part of that is going to the safe check down, going to the smart option, and that has been Dalton Schultz for them. And even, Blake Jarwin in some circles. So, yeah, I just think Dalton Schultz is worth an ad. He's the number 1 tight end I would get out there. And I was trying to decide because I couldn't write about Dawson Knox.
Right.
And I was trying to decide if I would rank Dawson Knox ahead of Schultz. And I actually think I'm going to rank Schultz ahead. And I think the reason is that there's more production in the offense right now. And I know I know Knox is scoring touchdown. I mean, he has like 4 touchdowns on the year, but they've all come like that's basically buoying his value. And I think Schultz is somebody that's going to get targets and touchdowns in this offense. So that's somebody I would go pick up. And so again, talking about Hawkinson, bringing it back in a little full circle here. You pick up a Dalton Schultz and you're in dire need. Maybe you went 0 RB and none of these guys are hitting for you. Maybe you went 0 RB and you spent a bunch of money on Elijah Mitchell. And you're sitting there like, I need a running back. And you could get Hawkinson off your lineup for a running back, a RB2 value or more. Maybe you could go get Miles Sanders for Hawkinson. I think that might be worth it, Johnny, to ride Dalton Schultz or one of these guys off the waiver and then go get a running back for him.
Yeah, because when you're starting to talk about, that would be difficult for I do really like Hawkins, but to your point, if you can pick up a guy who's gonna get you a safe floor, right? And you're able to turn that other tight end piece into a running back, I think you do it. Like, that's hard to do, and
We're gonna get a couple of these guys a year, right, Johnny? That like pick up off waiver
the
a tight end,
Tunyan,
that are going to stick. And right now, it looks like it might be Knox and Schultz as the guys that are going to stick a little bit. Maybe even Max Williams, who we'll talk about next. I don't know. I think it might be worth it if you can get RB2 value, wide receiver 2 value, or more, and you need that on your squad. I think I would go do that.
Oh, dude, I gotta mention now that you brought, I gotta mention this because it was probably one of the highlights of last night. So we were live streaming, right? And someone and Austin, he hits him with the, oh, if you can get an RB1 for this guy, then do it. Or if you can get a wide receiver 1 for this guy, do it. And I'm like I'm like, dude, why are we saying to do this when like you're not going to be able to pull that off? Like and sure enough, to my dismay, someone got DK Metcalf for Deebo Samuel last night on the stream.
Oh, wow.
And dude, we were so excited. We were like, smash that. Go get it now. He accepted it. So someone traded Deebo for DK last night. Bravo to him. That's what we love. Yeah. That's the stuff that we love doing. Yeah, that's the best part of our jobs right there. So when we help people with that. Okay. Last person on this tight end list we got to talk about is Tyler Coughlin. Oh, wait, do we talk about Max Williams yet?
No, we didn't. No. Let me just jump in briefly with both of these guys here.
Yeah.
Max is going to be very volatile, but we see in this offense that he's worth a shot. I think he's going to be mostly that bye week filler, that streamer for you when your guy is on bye or hurt or whatever. But keep Max Williams on your radar. Keep him if you have the bench spot to keep him on there. He's ran, last week was crazy. He only ran 58% of the routes or snaps, but previously to that, 75% or more in the 3 games before that. He's now had 3 catches or more in his last 3 games, over 60 yards in 2 of the last 3, a touchdown last week, and 16 or more PPR fantasy points in 2 of the last 3. So Max Williams is emerging on the radar as somebody that could be back-end tight end 1 this year. And in that offense, I want to be investing in pieces. He's at least running more snaps than running on more snaps than some of the wide receivers in the team right now. So that's something you want to look at.
Yeah. Listen to an interview with Coach Cliff yesterday, and they asked him about this specifically. Like last year, we had Max Williams. He got some targets, wasn't really a consistent piece in this offense, but this year it seems to be. And they asked him about it, and they said that Max Williams has really taken a step forward. He's a really underrated tight end. They really like him, and he's becoming a nice little safety blanket for a guy like Kyler Murray. And sure, he's not the number 1 option. He's very similar to Knox in that sense, right? Like he's not going to be the number 1, 2, or 3 option. He's going to be the safe check down option. And sometimes in an offense that's overly crowded, and I think that's also what's kind of happening with Dallas, is that there are so many weapons on the outside that teams are keying in on. The CeeDee Lamb, the Amari Cooper, that it lost in the shuffle are these like middling tight ends that are solid tight ends, but they're getting lost in the shuffle. So they end up being open because teams are so worried about covering the wide receivers that all of a sudden you have these wide open lanes for these tight ends. And that's what I think we're seeing. Again, they're a little bit more volatile. They're going to be from week to week because of that factor. But at the same time, they can have mega blow up games because of certain matchups and what they're doing, what teams are doing with the wide receiver core there. So definitely like that one. You want to touch on Tyler Conklin?
Conklin's just here because, yes, last week wasn't a great week.
So he doesn't get fined?
Yeah, exactly. He still ran over 75% of the routes, 85% of the snaps last week. 6 targets last week, only 18 yards. Not a great week. He probably sunk your lineup in maybe it's tight end. Yeah. But I just wanted to say that he's still on the PPR radar here because of the fact that he's running so many routes and he's on this team, in Minnesota that's going to throw a ton. So like definitely a tier below the other guys we talked about.
All right. Robert Tunyan. You dropping Robert Tunyan for any of these guys?
For Schultz and For Schultz and for Knox, if he's available, I know he's at 50%, I would. Max Williams is not a guy I would drop Tunyan for just yet because I think Tunyan's going to have spiked weeks like Max Williams is going to have. But yeah.
Logan Thomas. You dropping Logan Thomas?
Yeah, it looks like he might be out multiple weeks, right? So I think you could drop him for any of these guys if you needed the fill.
Okay.
At this point.
And then Cameron Breit, you dropping?
Yeah, I mean, Cameron Breit was a popular ad because Gronk was out. But again, this offense uses so many different weapons. I don't think that Breit's anything special to this offense. He's not going to be like somebody they're looking to as the secondary or even tertiary piece for them.
All right. Last section here for those quarterback streaming people.
And the most important section, because even though Damien Williams is somebody you got to go, you got to go pick him up, and everybody's going to tell you he's the number one pickup. I am telling you that the number one pickup, if you need any kind of quarterback help, is Trey MF Lance. Last week in a game where he barely got in there, he ran 51% of the snaps. He was in on 51% of the snaps because of the calf injury to Jimmy G, which I will just say this. We are not sure if the calf injury is going to keep Jimmy G out. I would bet that it does, but Shanahan, to his credit, did say he doesn't know if he might be able to make it back. But on only 18 attempts, where he only completed 9 of them, only 50%, he still scored 2 touchdowns, and he scored over 20 fantasy points in 4-point touchdown scoring because he ran the ball, Johnny, 7 times for 41 yards. Okay. This is a guy in Trey Lance that is extremely mobile, extremely lethal.
Oh, time to go mobile.
Exactly. Has a live arm. What we want out of Justin Fields, we are already getting in half of a game out of Trey Lance. And so that is where I'm at with Trey Lance. He is a league winner, no doubt. If he wins the job and keeps the job, he is a guy that is going to, I mean, we know what we have in San Francisco. We've seen it for years. Nick Mullins, CJ Beathard, these guys have come in and made splash plays in this offense. If you can get the offense rolling, this is going to be a big, big pickup for you in fantasy. So please, if you have the bench space, if you are having QB woes like Ryan Tannehill, or you invested in Justin Fields as well, Trey Lance needs to be owned in all formats right now.
Upcoming schedule, a little brutal. But again, with his scrambling and things like that, I think he could be okay. But just know the schedule is not the easiest. He gets Arizona next week at Arizona. Then they have a bye. Then Indianapolis, who's been decent against quarter.
No, that's a great matchup. They've been shredded.
Have they?
Yeah. Russ went off on him. Stafford went off on him. Yeah, I mean,
those are like the 2 best. I mean, yeah, maybe. We'll see. Then you got Chicago, who has been really good against, especially rookie quarter. And then you get Arizona again, then the Rams in week 10. So a little bit of a bumpy ride, but I do think, like Travis was saying, I'm not even on camera right now. Like Travis was saying, that Trey Lance is one of those guys because of that kind of Konami code with his legs, that he could end up, having good days even when the matchup's not that great. So I just had to give you some pushback there on the Trey Lance.
Well, yeah, I mean, Colts, Rams, both giving up over 20 points per game to the position. They're not. I mean, these are matchups he can easily win, and like you said, with just his legs. I mean, sure. You can have some hesitation if you don't want to go pick up a quarterback. I think this is the guy you got to go get, because he's not a Sam Darnold. He's not a Joe Burrow. He's not a guy that you're going to go pick up and the bottom's going to fall out any week. He's going to float you with his rushing floor, and then he's going to have monster games if he can get the passing going. So that's what we want.
I do like that. Okay. Last 2 quarterbacks here, and then we'll jump into the questions. We got Sam Darnold, Carolina Panthers, rostered on 44% of leagues. Sam Darnold, dude, leading the league right now in rushing touchdowns, believe it or not, is Sam Darnold. So if you took that rushing bet in Vegas before the beginning of the season, I bet you it would be paying off mega big. So Sam Darnold on this list, and then Taylor Heineke, Washington football team quarterback, roster on just 19% of leagues. So that's another quarterback that you're eyeing for a streamable play this week.
Yeah, I mean, both Darnold and Heineke are great plays. Heineke is not a guy I would stream exactly this week. They play New Orleans. But Darnold, I think, against Philly is worth it. I think both of these guys, if you look at them, over 20 points in their last 3 games. And like you said, Sam Darnold Kyler Murray and him leading the league in rushing touchdowns right now. So Sam Darnold, the Konami code in himself.
All right. A couple quarterbacks. I can ask you if you want to drop for any of these quarterbacks really quick. Teddy Bridgewater or Derek Carr or Justin Fields.
I would drop
or
all
Kirk Cousins.
I would drop all. I would drop all 4 of them for Trey Lance.
All right.
I would. Yeah.
Okay.
Trey Lance, and I would consider dropping some of them for Sam Darnold, depending on your bye week and things like that. But yeah, Trey Lance, man. Gonna really, really put up some numbers here.
All right, there you have your Week 5 waiver wire pickups for the week. Again, the waiver wire article will be up a little bit later today on the fantasywhispers.com. I will put a link in the description below once that is up, so you can just click on that and check it out. Big Travis puts that out weekly, so make sure you check that out along with the past weeks, because sometimes those guys, you look at who gets dropped, and some of last week's waiver wire guys get dropped this week for that new hotness. So if you're wondering about a player and what we might think, make sure you go check out that, because their chances are we have a write-up on them. So, or Travis does anyway. So make sure you read that, or hit us up in our Discord. Let us know. We have a Discord channel. Link is in the description as well. We love answering questions, and Whisper Nation loves having more people in the Discord channel to chit chat about fantasy football. So if you like any of that, make sure you are joining the Discord. All right, now to questions. We appreciate everyone waiting around for these. Appreciate you guys sticking with us through the show. We got Jersey J saying, okay, fellas, I have Higgins coming back. I need to drop someone by tomorrow. PPR 6 point. Rondale, Patrick, Watkins, Madison, Ingram, or Michelle. I'm doing Watkins.
Yeah,
I would drop Watkins.
Like, you could even drop Mark Ingram, I think, too.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Though it would be between those two. So take your pick. Do you need running back or wide receiver more? And drop the other guy.
Yeah, I agree with that. Let's see. I also need PPR. I need a PPR back. Gainwell, Baldwin, Collins are all in waivers. Is it okay to drop Michelle, Madison, Moore, or Patrick for any of these guys? Also, Knox as well. Would you drop any of them?
I would drop Watkins for Gainwell here.
Yeah.
I think Gainwell in the PPR, if you need that PPR back, drop Watkins for that. If you need tight end help, though, more than you need the bench stash at running back, then go drop Watkins for Knox.
Yeah.
That's where I would be at with that. Watkins is the guy. It seems like this is the same league that you're going to be willing to drop here. If you need to drop 2, I think it would be Ingram and Watkins. And you would go and pick up Knox and Gainwell, like we talked about here. So
yeah,
that would be what I do.
It's got one more question. Last question. Jerry Jeudy could be back week 6. Is Patrick still a?
So I actually think it's going to be more like week 7, week 8 for Jerry Jeudy, because it was 6-week timeline when they put him on the IR, which was week 1. So I think it's going to be around 7 or 8, but let's
it's going to probably be a week or 2 before. I mean, and it could linger throughout the. It was a high ankle sprain,
high re-injury rate on those.
Yeah.
It's really sticky situation. But what are you asking here? So Patrick still a keepsake, or should I grab Jeudy and put him in an IR spot? I mean, if you could grab Jeudy and put him in the IR spot, you'd still be able to keep Patrick, right?
Right.
Shouldn't that be? I would put him in the IR spot. Yeah, definitely. If you have
what I would do is probably drop. Like, I would drop Watkins, pick up Jerry Jeudy, then move him to my IR, then go and pick up another guy.
Bro, this is hilarious. Mr. Miyagi says, shout out to the Olive Garden for the unlimited soup and salad lunch. Yes,
dude.
And gnocchi and the breadsticks. Man, I might just roll over there right now.
Dude, I'll tell you, dude. Olive
John, you want to go?
Let's go, dude. I hit up Jada. I'm like, hey, like, what do you feel about going to the Olive Garden tonight? And she's like, she's not a big fan of it, but I love that unlimited soup and salad bowl. Hit me up.
Tom Ashton asks, are Cortland Sutton, Jamal Williams holds or drops this week for popular picks? I would drop Jamal Williams for Damian Williams. I would be willing to do that. That's about it. On the running back side of things.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Johnny.
Right. Mr. Miyagi, after Monty going down, I'm putting 50%. I still have Eckler, Swift, and now Hunt is going to be in the lineup. I think that's fine if you have Monty. then that's okay to do. If you don't get them, then I think you're still fine. Eckler, Swift, and Hunt is fine to rely on until Monty gets back. Putting 50% for your backup running back is not the terrible. I don't know if I would put that much. I don't plan on putting that much on Williams, but again, if that's what everyone knows what their league kind of does, so you can kind of gauge off of that on whether or not. But again, it's only going to be like a 4 to 5 week rental basically, and they don't have the greatest matchups during that. So that's why I'm a little bit hesitant on Damien and like going all in on my waiver, because it's not the longest stretch there. Hey fellas, should I trade Zeke for Cook? I don't think I would.
Yeah, I'm hesitant to give Zeke up. I think people are trying to say that, though, it's a sell high opportunity. I don't know how you could say that. This is a guy we drafted in the top 5 on the way in, and then had one bad game against a Tampa Bay team. That was, a tough matchup. Zeke has now had 16 or more carries in 3 straight weeks. He's averaged over 4.4 yards per carry in all 3 of those games. And Johnny, 4 touchdowns over the last 3 weeks as well. He's ballooned all the way up to the RB4 in standard and RB6 in PPR, and I don't think he's going anywhere. I think he has he is number 2, I believe, in routes run at the running back position. I have to look that up, but I'm pretty sure that is correct. I heard that on a podcast Sunday night. So that is something just to notice that, hey, no matter how Pollard looks, Zeke looks good too.
Right. And the other thing that why I think Zeke is still somewhat buy low is because people still don't fully believe in this defense, even though this defense is legit. And that's where the whole Zeke kind of narrative gets elevated for me, and why I do think he's a buy low, because that defense is not going to be as bad. They're not going to be in shootouts like they were last year. Like, sure, Dallas is going to put up points, but then that defense is going to hold offenses to not being able to catch back up like they did last year.
Sure,
and so what ends up happening is they run more. Like they turn around, hand off the ball to Zeke because they want to chew out this clock. They don't want it a close game. They don't want to come and shoot out.
I think they are so set on winning games. I think they're tired of being the laughing stock or the team that chokes games away, and they are doing whatever it takes to do that. And I'll tell you right now, if you thought Zeke didn't look good and you stopped watching Zeke, go watch the last 2 games, and more specifically, watch this Carolina game. This was a team, Johnny, that was really good.
Number 1. They were number 1
really
total defense.
The run, and that was because mostly they were a pass funnel. You could get the pass on them, but you couldn't really run on Carolina. Zeke said, I don't give a shit about that. I'm going to go run all down your throat, and he did. And he looked good. So I would continue to hang on to Zeke.
Yep, I agree. Out of Gainwell, Bolden, and Collins, who is the best PPR pickup? Gainwell. PPR.
Yeah.
Drop Tyson Williams for Damien Williams?
Yesterday. Yesterday. I would have done
that. I have Monty, but I don't. Even if you didn't have Monty, I would say do that.
Yeah, you're getting.
Let's see. I can't keep holding these handcuffs for backs. I don't have, let's see, Madison or Cheryl are just eating up spots on the roster.
Yeah, so but if you're telling me, but he's also telling us that the best available running backs in those leagues, let's go back to this, are Brandon Bolden, Alex Collins, and Gainwell. So they're not really eating up roster spots, because you would just go get these guys who would eat up roster spots. These are guys in Madison and Michelle that, should the guys ahead of them go down, we're talking 20, 25 touches. So that's what we're talking about. You're not going to get that at any of these guys on the waiver. So Jersey J, little bit of perspective here, brother. You have what you need. These are what these roster spots are for. You want guys that you're turning through to try and find the next up arrow. And I think you need to hang on to Madison. Or, look, if you're tired of the roster spots, go to the Dalvin Cook owner. Go to the Darrell Henderson owner and say, look, I have your guy. I have your peace of mind right here. What can you give me back for it? Even if they're sitting on if you're so set on having that PPR back, if they're sitting on a Naheem Hines, or there's, you're sitting on a PPR back that you like, go out and get them for one of these backups.
Yep. Or pair Madison with another piece that you have. That's a little bit less.
Michelle, man.
Well, right, exactly. But I'm saying, you could really elevate your own roster by going to the Dalvin Cook, and let's say Dalvin. It's Dalvin and Miles Sanders is let's say that was the running back tandem they had, and you're able to get them Madison and maybe another RB2 that's a little bit less, and you're like, okay, I'll give you this for Miles Sanders. and then you get Gainwell off the waiver, and then all of a sudden you have that locked up for the Philadelphia. So there are a lot of moves that you can make if you feel like you're just wasting that roster spot, which I don't think you are with Madison. And like you said, the great point. Look who's available on your waiver wire. It's way worse than what you've got now. So like what you said there. We got Jose.
Oh, Marvin Jones or Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown. You mean Marquise Brown, the number 10 wide receiver in standard, the number 12 in PPR, and he dropped 3 touchdowns against Detroit, dude. You're sticking with Marquise Brown.
Marquise,
if you don't, man, if you don't like it, then dude, do what he said. Call God, man.
Yeah.
Call God.
Dude. Call God. Dude, I in the matchup show said stay in the flames with Marquise this week.
That's right.
Paid off.
Jose Chavez says, who do I start? I have Mahomes and Herbert. You're rolling Mahomes out there every week, but Herbert is starting to heat up. That offense is looking good, and that defense giving him more opportunities. So the Herbert
defense is underrated too there.
Yeah, Herbert is really coming on. Adam Schefter. You hear Adam Schefter in the pregame saying that Herbert's already a Hall of Fame quarterback in his eyes?
Well, Austin last night was trying to say that Herbert was on the same level as Patrick Mahomes.
I mean, in some ways, he's not mobile, but in some ways, the throws that he makes, Johnny, I mean, this is the stuff that we were talking about when we came into this year. I understand why you were saying regression for Herbert, but the problem is that Herbert was doing things that elite level quarterbacks do already in his rookie season. So it was the chicken or the egg. Is he going to be able to sustain that and be one of the greats, or is he going to come back to earth? And I understand making trying to say, well, he'll probably come back to earth, but he looks good. He looks as advertised right there. Cole Pierce says, I know it's early, but would you start Henderson or Patterson? Man, Henderson in that matchup against Seattle looks really good. I think I would lean Henderson. I would be afraid of chasing the points with Patterson right now, because as much as we love Patterson, he's still not getting, exactly 50% of this team's market share for things, but he is getting in there as the other option in the passing game. So I don't know. Is it PPR?
I don't know if it's PPR. Also,
come back, check back with us. We'll be on the Thursday show. We'll let you know there, and then just make sure you're on with us. It is still a little early, Cole, but I think initially I'm going with Henderson here, especially in state.
What is the they're against the Jets, dude? Atlanta. I might go. The 49ers are who on a short week is who it's a Thursday thirst for Henderson.
No, they don't play the 49ers. They play Seattle, bro. The Rams play Seattle.
Oh, that's right. Seattle on Thursday night. Oh, that's a great match.
I would go with Henderson.
I probably would.
R says someone dropped Latavius. Oh, we've answered that earlier.
Said that one.
What's
TCP.
Up, guys? Cat's Pajamas. Do it 420. Says hi, guys. What's going on?
What's up?
And we've got Schultz or Knox in the 6-point PPR. So he was asking about this because Schultz is also available. I would go with Schultz here. I think earlier I was talking, I think it's by a hair, but I think Schultz's usage has me a little bit more excited here.
Okay, fair enough. Should I drop Jonnu Smith for Dawson Knox? Yes.
Jonnu did get into the end zone last week too.
He did, but I am concerned with how this offense is struggling to really push the ball down the field, unlike the
Knox or Schultz, Johnny. Again, I think I'm going Schultz.
Yeah.
Andre Silva says, I just traded JT, Jonathan Taylor, and Visca for CMC. It feels good. Especially in a PPR, I would love this deal for you. You hope that you can sustain the rest of the injury here for CMC, but I think you did get an upgrade.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Asking again about Zeke for Cook. No, you keep on to Zeke. IDP questions they were asking here.
Yeah, he asked, it's right here. Quincy Williams, New York Jets linebacker.
Yeah,
is he worth an ad? I'm going to see. Hold on. Let me just search something really quick.
So Quincy Williams has 5 or more tackles in the last 3 games. He had 12 tackles against Tennessee and a sack. They've got Atlanta, New England, Cincy, and Indy. Yeah, there's a few good troublesome squads in here. I think I might pick up Quincy Williams. I don't really know IDP. I don't know who you'd have to drop, but I think what you're seeing is production out of a guy who's really stepping up, and a couple teams that are winnable matchups for the Jets here.
38% snap share is a little bit low, but yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing with defenses. I think that you can definitely stream these players a lot easier. So Yeah, I think, and they're always down, so he's going to be rushing the QB a lot.
Mr. Miyagi, Trevion Point with the enoki soup. That was exactly what I had. It's
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
10-team PPR. Is Devonta Smith and Claypool a drop? Oof.
I'll ask
10-team?
I'll ask you.
Yeah, I think you could drop them both. It would depend on what you had available. You know, it's always depending on that. But I think if you needed the spot, if you needed running back help in 10-team, yeah.
Should I try? Cole asking, should I try to trade A.J. Brown and Patterson for a guy like Terry or Diggs? I would not. I think A.J. Brown's going to be fine.
Jersey J says I shouldn't do that trade even if I'm 1-3. 1-3.
I'm 1-3.
Zeke for Cook. Well, I mean, I don't know what you're trying to get out of Cook that you're not getting already out of Zeke. That's
right.
My
and Cook is already, like, he was banged up again in yesterday's game.
He did come back, but still, it's just not. I don't know what you're trying to get here. Like, Cook hasn't hit his ceiling. He probably won't with the ankle. You know, if anything, they might scale his usage back and put Madison in more of a tandem with him.
Vopsy, what you need to do is hit that subscribe, hit that bell. We will get you out of this hole of 1-3. We will get you in the playoffs, man. Just follow us, hit that subscribe, hit that bell. We'll maneuver this, and so you don't have to trade Zeke and then do something like that.
Is Saquon a sell high player, Johnny?
I do not believe so. I think Zeke is one of those guys you're going to want to go and try to acquire. Or, sorry, Saquon is one of those guys you're going to want to try and go and acquire.
Austin coming back saying, I did not say he was on the same level. I said in 3 to 5 years, we might be asking Mahomes or Herbert, which is similar to what Schefter was saying when he said that he was Hall of Fame already, is that when you're looking at to start a franchise right now, it would be Mahomes and Herbert that you're looking at quarterback. So, yeah, I think. Are you trading Najee for Zeke? Yeah, if you could get Zeke and give away Najee Harris, I'd do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, better offensive line.
I have trust issues big time with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now.
Drop Higbee
for Knox. This is a question for you, Johnny.
I would not. No.
Higbee, tell me on it. Tell me why.
Well, like you said, Knox's stats are all inflated because of the 4 touchdowns. Whereas you're seeing on the opposite side there, you're seeing that Higbee is not getting necessarily the touchdowns, but he is being targeted in the red zone. He had another red zone target in this game, just overthrown. The thing I like about Higbee is that he is getting 80% of the snap share there. He is consistently seeing between 5 and 6 targets a game. The metrics are all aligning. It's just a matter of time before they all start to, fire on the same level. We've had, Cooper Kupp really taking a lot of those touchdowns. We've had a couple of long bombs that have been taken off the board.
Keep an eye on Higbee. He's got an ankle issue, so it's a short week. He might be able to go through it, but just keep an eye on that. What defenses to stream this week? Check back with us. We're not breaking down the matchups just yet, but we will be, and make sure you're checking with us later in the week. Just quickly, though, I will say New England's the huge streamer of the week. They play Houston. That's a good defense to go grab right now. So that would be my top one just off the top of my head.
I also, I was going to say another one, but
go for it.
That was a good one. Well,
go ahead, Johnny.
I was going to say the Arizona Cardinals are another team, another defense that you could kind of look at with going against San Francisco. Obviously, the rookie quarterback. We do know that the Arizona Cardinals can put up points. So if Lance is having to throw from behind, chances are he will probably throw 1 pick or 2 in that game. So
A.J. Dillon is worth a roster spot in 12-man half-point PPR leagues, ? Should I drop Drake for him?
This is a question for you. Because Drake, that was another big surprise. Drake getting very little usage yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, this is
just like all Josh Jacobs show.
And I think we exactly saw what they want to do when they get a team like the Chargers. They want to try and run and play keep away. They weren't successful because they didn't get a lot of opportunities. I think Drake is just not who we thought he was going to be. I think it's time to cut bait on Drake. Now, I would want to know your logic for picking up Dillon. Like, do you have Aaron Jones? Are you trying to get secure? Do I ask if AJ Dillon and Drake have standalone value versus each other? They're probably about the same right now. It's not like AJ Dillon has monstrous standalone value right now. that we've seen. So it would just depend. Are you in a PPR league? Yeah, he said 12-man half-point PPR. I might keep on to Drake because he's probably going to get more usage in the passing game.
The only thing that I would say on why I would maybe rather have A.J. Dillon over Drake is now that we've seen Josh Jacobs go out, we know Drake is never going to get that full workload. Whereas if anything happens to AJ,
we know, I think that's
yeah.
definitely true. That's the upside you're getting when you take AJ Dillon for sure.
Yeah.
Also,
sorry.
Also, should I hold Tyson Williams on the bench one more week? No, I mean, I think Williams could be cut right now for a multitude of players. Hold or sell Ayuk and Allen Robinson.
Big Sam 38. Appreciate you joining us.
Man, I would hold on to Ayuk because I want to see what Trey Lance and him can do together in a full game. Allen Robinson's one that gets a little tough for me. Let me look at the metrics real quick on Robinson.
I do think Robinson is such a buy low right now because he is just, it's like criminal how low he is.
Last week, he saw his fewest snap percentage at 69 snap percentage, went 3 of 3 for 63 yards, had his highest yardage total, lowest target total, second lowest catch total. I don't know. I can't really trust Nagy and the Bears. I think I would try to sell Allen Robinson if you can. The problem is his value is so low.
I have Saquon
and Jonathan Taylor, but I'm in desperate need of a good wide receiver. I mean, like we said up above, you've got AJ Green. If he's available, Hunter Renfro is another one, especially in PPR if he's available. There's some guys out there, so make sure
wide receivers
will be out later. You can definitely cycle through wide receivers a lot more easier than you can running back.
Yeah.
Start 3 of these players for week 5 PPR. So we can't get into this right now, but I think just because we're going to have to break down the matchups and we'll get back with you later in the week. Make sure you're subbed on YouTube and we will go live before the games on Sunday. Appreciate you, Rob. Just quickly get through the rest of these. Trade Madison and Patrick for Javonte Williams. And
yes,
absolutely. I would absolutely.
Yes, I would do this. Yeah, there you go.
Andre Silva, Woods, or A-Rob rest of season? Johnny, that's a question for you because you still have faith in both of these guys.
I do. This is a difficult one. I think A-Rob has the higher ceiling. I think that Woods is the safer floor wide receiver.
I just trust the offense more. And I think
that's where,
Yeah, and I think if you look at, if it's PPR, you definitely want Woods. Because he's had double-digit PPR points in 3 of 4 games. Even in the games he struggled in, he's had 12 points.
Yeah.
So he's going to be involved in the offense. He runs a lot of snaps. Allen Robinson should be involved, but Matt Nagy is being a real dodo right now and just not scheming that offense correctly. Is it time to panic with CD and Ridley? Should I start the trade combos? I mean, if you could sell Ridley on the perceived value of his volume, yes, I would. I would hang tight on CD. I know you spent a lot of capital, but this is kind of what I was concerned about when I was telling people you're spending a lot of money on CD Lamb at the beginning of the year. But I think CD I would kind of try and stick with because I think you can get more value out of Ridley right now.
Yeah, I do too. And yeah, if you can get out from under Ridley right now, I would. Just because it's just not there, like the volume. Although the uptick in targets the last 3 weeks have been very, very nice. He got 10, 11, and 13. Gets the Jets this week. We know that the Jets can be had at the corner. We saw Corey Davis just have a huge day against them. So maybe you're able to sell them high after that game, after this week, and then they enter a week 6 bye. So you might be able to sell them higher next week.
Week 6 bye, sell them high.
Yeah, exactly. There you go.
Go down to the Bay. I just may.
Want to roll around the hay?
Yeah, why not? We did it.
All right, we did it. There you have it, Whisper Nation. The week 5 already. Wow, can't believe it. Week 5 waiver wire show is now complete. Appreciate all of you guys for joining in on today's show. Once again, if you like fantasy football content, you want more fantasy football content, hit that subscribe, hit that bell so you get notified anytime we drop new content or go live. Make sure you're following us over on Twitters at Johnny_GameTime. You can find Travis. I need a point. There you go. You find Travis on Twitter at Big TFW. Make sure you get over to that Discord channel. Follow us there. A bunch of fantasy football people that love to talk about fantasy football and all that stuff. For Big Travie, I'm Johnny Game Time Hicks. Good luck with your waivers this week, Whisper Nation. We're out.
Peace. Trey Lance, league winner.
You won't.
You won't.
Right here.
Congratulations on making it to the end of the video. If you still have a lot to say about fantasy football, maybe you want to give Johnny a little bit of crap for his take today, then go on over to our Discord channel and join the conversation there. Click the link in the description below. And if you still want more content, check out one of these